The final battle began at dawn on a world that had no sun. The Devourer Gateway hung in space like a wound in reality itself, growing larger every hour. Through its twisted opening, glimpses of the void dimension showed endless hungry shadows waiting to pour through. The structure was protected by the largest concentration of Devourers ever seen. Hundreds of the shadow creatures in formations that proved they had learned military strategy. Admiral Hyun stood on the bridge of the New Seoul, now serving as the flagship for the largest combined fleet in galactic history. Human ships flew alongside Zenthari cruisers, Nexari energy vessels, and selenite crystal ships. It was beautiful and terrifying to see so many different technologies working together. All ships report ready, Navigator Mira announced. The weapon is charged and synchronized. The weapon was humanity's most desperate creation, a resonance bomb that could theoretically collapse the Devourer Gateway. But it had to be delivered directly to the structure's core, which meant flying through the entire enemy fleet. "Remember the plan," Hyun said into his communications array. "Human ships provide kinetic cover. Alien vessels handle defense and speed. We get one chance at this." General Wan, commanding the kinetic bombardment fleet, checked his ammunition counts one final time. Every human ship carried its maximum load of railgun slugs, missiles, and nuclear warheads. They would need every single round. "Target the largest Devourers first," Wan ordered his captains. "Keep them busy while the bomb team gets through." The attack began with a thunderous barrage of kinetic weapons. Thousands of metal projectiles streaked through space toward the Devourer fleet. The shadow creatures had learned to partially defend against physical attacks, but the sheer volume of fire overwhelmed their new defenses. But the Devourers had learned something else too. As human ships focused on the big targets, smaller Devourers attacked from unexpected angles. They had studied human battle tactics and learned to exploit weaknesses. Commander Baom found his ship surrounded by fast-moving shadow creatures that struck like pack hunters. "They're using our own tactics against us," he reported as his shields took hit after hit. That's when the alien ships proved their worth. Zenthari warriors, flying vessels that moved like dancers through space, intercepted the attacking Devourers with perfectly timed strikes. Nexari energy shields created safe corridors for human ships to advance through. The battle became a deadly maze of cooperation. Human kinetic weapons created openings, alien speed and agility exploited those openings, and combined tactics kept the fleet moving toward its target. Captain So-jin volunteered to lead the final run to the gateway. Her ship, the Busan, had been retrofitted with the resonance bomb and enough armor to hopefully survive the approach. "I'll need a clear path to the target," she announced over the radio. "You'll have it," replied Pilot Dal, leading the combined fighter squadrons. "Just give us 30 seconds warning." As the main fleet fought its way through the Devourer defenses, So-jin studied the gateway structure. It was even more massive up close, a twisted ring of space-time that hurt to look at directly. At its center, reality itself was torn open like a wound. "Beginning final approach," So-jin announced. What happened next was the most desperate 30 seconds in galactic history. Dal's fighter squadrons threw themselves at the Devourer defenders with suicidal courage. Human pilots and alien warriors flying ships that had never been designed to work together performed impossible maneuvers to clear a path. General Wan's kinetic bombardment reached maximum intensity. Every human ship fired everything it had, creating a storm of metal and explosives that kept the largest Devourers busy. Admiral Hana, coordinating from Luna Base, watched the battle through sensor feeds and felt her heart breaking. Ships were dying by the dozen, but they were buying So-jin the time she needed. The Busan raced through the chaos, its hull scarred by near misses and glancing blows. So-jin's crew worked frantically to keep the resonance bomb stable while enemy fire shook the ship apart around them. "We're almost there," So-jin reported. 30 seconds to deployment. That's when the largest Devourer, a creature the size of a small moon, broke free from the main battle and moved to intercept. It was the entity humans had codenamed Prime Hunger, the apparent leader of the invasion force. "It's too big," So-jin's weapons officer said. "Our guns can't hurt something that size." But they weren't alone. Admiral Hyun brought the New Seoul alongside the Busan, adding his ship's firepower to the attack. Behind him came Elder Vorthak and the Crystal of Ages, General Corvin and what remained of the Storm of Honor, and dozens of other ships from both human and alien fleets. This is for everyone who died fighting these things, Hyun said as he gave the order to fire. The combined assault was spectacular. Human kinetic weapons and alien energy systems, working together for the first time in perfect harmony, struck Prime Hunger simultaneously. The massive creature reeled back, its shadow form flickering as contradictory forces tore at its existence. Sojin seized the moment. The Busan dove toward the gateway's core, racing through the opening in the Devourer defenses. Deploying resonance bomb, she announced. The weapon was beautiful in its simplicity. It contained the combined knowledge of human physics and alien quantum science, designed to turn the gateway's own power against itself. As Sojin activated it, the bomb began to sing, a harmonic frequency that matched the gateway's construction. All ships, retreat to minimum safe distance, Sojin ordered. But she knew the Busan was too close to escape the explosion. The resonance bomb would work, but it would take her ship with it. That's when Navigator Mira, aboard the New Soul, made a discovery that saved everything. "Captain, I'm reading quantum tunnels in the gateway structure," she announced. "If we can match the resonance frequency exactly, we might be able to collapse just the connection to the void dimension while leaving normal space intact." Dr. Insu, monitoring from the research station Jeju, understood immediately. "It's like cutting a rope instead of exploding the whole building. Sojin, adjust the bomb frequency to match these coordinates." With seconds to spare, Sojin's team recalibrated the resonance bomb. Instead of a massive explosion, the weapon created a precise quantum cut that severed the gateway's connection to the void dimension. The effect was immediate and devastating. The gateway collapsed in on itself, creating a whirlpool of twisted space-time that pulled the Devourer fleet toward it. Prime Hunger and its smaller companions fought desperately against the gravitational pull, but they were being dragged back into the void dimension they had come from. "It's working," Engineer Tay shouted from his station. "The gateway is sealing itself." As the last Devourer disappeared into the collapsing portal, reality snapped back to normal. The twisted space-time straightened out, the impossible angles became regular again, and the wound in the universe healed itself. For a moment, the battlefield was completely silent. Then every ship in the combined fleet began cheering at once. Humans and aliens celebrated together, their differences forgotten in the joy of survival. Captain Sojin brought the Busan home safely, her ship battered but intact. As she docked with the New Soul, Admiral Hyun was there to greet her personally. "How does it feel to save the galaxy?" he asked. "Like something humans and aliens should do together more often," she replied. 1 year later, the Galactic Council met in its new chamber on Unity Station, a massive space habitat built from both human steel and alien crystal. The station orbited Earth, but it belonged to all member species equally. Elder Vorthak, his crystal form now glowing with warm golden light, addressed the assembly for the last time as senior counselor. Age was finally catching up to him, but he was content. The galaxy was safe and the young races were taking their rightful place among the stars. "When I first warned about the human threat," he said, "I feared they would awaken ancient dangers. I was right about the first part, but wrong about everything else. Yes, they woke the Devourers, but they also showed us how to defeat them." In the audience, Ambassador June listened with pride as Vorthak continued. "We elders spent millions of years believing that age brought wisdom and power brought security. The humans taught us that sometimes the newest ideas are the best ones, and the simplest solutions are the most effective." Admiral Hyun, now serving as humanity's representative to the Council, stood to respond. "We didn't save the galaxy alone. It took all of us working together to defeat an enemy none of us could have faced separately." Around the chamber, representatives from 15 different species, including 3 new races that had been discovered since the war ended, nodded in agreement. The vote to approve humanity's proposal for joint exploration missions was unanimous. Human ships would carry alien scientists to study new phenomena, while alien vessels would transport human colonists to worlds their species could adapt to. Dr. Q, now director of the Interspecies Research Institute, presented his latest findings about the void dimension. "We've learned to detect the quantum signatures that attract Devourers," he announced. "Future FTL drives can be designed to avoid those frequencies entirely." Dr. Insu, working with a team of Nexari quantum engineers, had developed new defensive systems based on the resonance technology. The meeting took place aboard the damaged Zenthari flagship Storm of Honor. The great ship had once been a symbol of alien military power, but now its hull was scarred by devourer attacks, and emergency lights flickered in corridors that had never known defeat. Elder Vorthak arrived first, his crystal form dim with exhaustion. Behind him came the survivors of the Galactic Council, General Corvin with 2 of his 6 arms in medical wraps, Elder Mirren's plant-like body showing burn marks from energy feedback, and Counselor Nexus flickering weakly like a dying star. Admiral Hana and General Wan represented humanity, along with Ambassador June, who had worked so hard to build bridges between species. The meeting room was a mix of alien crystal furniture and human metal chairs, hastily arranged to accommodate different body types. "We have called this meeting to formally request humanity's assistance," Elder Vorthak began, his words clearly difficult to speak. "Our forces have proven inadequate against the devourer threat." General Corvin's warrior pride made him flinch at those words, but he forced himself to continue. "We offer a full military alliance, shared technology, combined fleets, coordinated strategy." Admiral Hana leaned forward. "What are you offering in return?" "Full membership in the Galactic Council," Vorthak replied. "Equal voting rights, access to our trade networks, and recognition as a major galactic power." "And in exchange?" One asked. "You help us destroy the devourers before they consume our galaxy," Corvin said simply. Ambassador June had prepared for this moment. "We accept, but with conditions. We continue our FTL travel and space expansion. No restrictions on human settlement or exploration." Several alien council members shifted uncomfortably. They still feared that human FTL activity might wake more devourers, but they had little choice now. "Agreed," Vorthak said after a long pause. "But we ask that you limit FTL travel near the known devourer emergence zones." "That's reasonable," Hana replied. "Now let's talk strategy." What followed was the strangest military planning session in galactic history. Engineer Tay worked with Nexari technicians to design hybrid weapon systems. The aliens provided advanced power sources and shield technology, while humans contributed kinetic weapons and targeting systems. "Your railguns are effective, but they use too much power," explained Nexari engineer Kix, whose body was made of living metal. "Our energy cores could triple your firing rate." Tay studied the alien technology with fascination. "And your shields are amazing, but they're designed to stop energy attacks. We could modify them to deflect physical debris from our own kinetic weapons." The cultural differences were as challenging as the technical ones. Zenthari warriors couldn't understand why humans used cowardly long-range weapons instead of fighting in close combat. Human soldiers couldn't grasp why the Nexari wanted to analyze every tactical decision through mathematical equations before acting. But slowly, understanding grew. Pilot Dal led the first mixed squadron of human and alien fighters. His wingmates included a Zenthari warrior named Keth, who had initially refused to fly with primitive humans, and a Selenite named Lyra, whose energy-based consciousness had to be housed in a special crystal cockpit. "Remember," Dal said over the radio as they approached a devourer scout, "we use human weapons for the attack run, alien tech for defense and speed." The battle was like a deadly dance. Dal's human reflexes and intuition allowed him to dodge the devourer's attacks in ways no computer could calculate. Keth's warrior instincts told him exactly when to break formation and attack from an unexpected angle. Lyra's energy consciousness could process targeting data faster than any organic mind. When their combined attack destroyed the devourer scout, all 3 pilots felt something new. Respect for abilities they had never understood before. But the devourers were learning too. Dr. Insu, monitoring their behavior from the research station Jeju, made alarming discoveries. "They're not just adapting their defenses," he reported to the Joint Command Center. "They're studying our tactics. Each attack teaches them more about how we fight." Dr. Q, working alongside Selenite scientists on the alien data cores, found even worse news. The ancient records show the same pattern. The devourers learn from every battle until they can predict and counter their enemies' moves perfectly. "How long do we have?" Admiral Hyan asked during the daily strategy briefing. "Based on their learning rate, maybe 2 weeks before they figure out how to defend against our kinetic weapons completely," Dr. Insu replied. The pressure was enormous. Humanity and their new alien allies had to end the war quickly, or the Devourers would become unbeatable. Commander Biom, now leading a joint human-Xanthari strike force, discovered just how smart the enemy was becoming. His ships approached what seemed like a standard Devourer feeding site, only to find themselves surrounded by creatures that had learned to coordinate ambush tactics. "They're hurting us," Biom realized as shadow tendrils cut off his fleet's escape routes. "Fall back!" "It's a trap." But the retreat path was blocked too. The Devourers had studied human tactics and learned to think like military strategists. Only the combined efforts of human kinetic weapons and alien defensive systems allowed Biom's force to escape. Even then, they lost 3 ships and barely made it out alive. "They're getting smarter faster than we expected," Biom reported grimly. Captain Sojin, leading deep reconnaissance missions into Devourer-controlled space, brought back intelligence that chilled everyone. "They're building something," she announced, showing her scan data to the Joint Command Team. The images showed dozens of Devourers working together, their shadow forms weaving reality itself into new shapes. Whatever they were constructing was massive, larger than a space station but made from twisted space-time rather than matter. "What is it?" Admiral Hana asked. Dr. Q studied the scans with growing horror. I think it's a permanent gateway. A way to bring their entire species through from the void dimension all at once." The implications were terrifying. So far, humanity and the aliens had been fighting advanced scouts and small invasion forces. If the Devourers could open a permanent gateway, their entire civilization could pour through. Billions of shadow creatures that could consume the galaxy in days. "How long until it's finished?" Elder Vorthak asked. "Based on their construction rate, maybe 4 days," Sojin replied. The Joint Command fell silent. 4 days to stop a construction project protected by enemies that were learning to counter their tactics with every battle. "We need something they can't adapt to," General Wan said finally. "Something they've never seen before." Engineer Tay had been thinking the same thing. "What if we don't fight them directly? What if we attack the gateway itself?" "With what?" Corvin asked. "Our weapons barely scratch their construction materials." "Not their materials," Tay said, his eyes bright with a dangerous idea. "The space-time they're weaving. What if we destabilize the entire structure?" Dr. Insu caught on immediately. "A resonance cascade. If we could match the quantum frequency of their construction, we could make the whole thing collapse," Dr. Q finished. "But the power requirements would be enormous. We'd need to channel the entire output of a star. Or," said Nexari engineer Kix, "we could use their own power against them. The gateway is drawing energy from the void dimension. If we could redirect that flow," it was insane. It was dangerous. It required perfect coordination between species that had been strangers just months ago. It was humanity's kind of plan. "Do it," Admiral Hyon ordered. "Whatever you need, wherever you need it. We've got 4 days to pull off the impossible." As human and alien engineers worked together to design weapons that had never been imagined, Pilot Dow led increasingly desperate missions to buy them time. His mixed squadrons fought running battles against Devourers that seemed to get smarter every hour. "They're predicting our attack patterns now," he reported after a particularly brutal engagement. "We lost half the squadron because they knew exactly where we were going to be. But there was hope too. The alliance was working. Human creativity combined with alien knowledge was producing solutions neither side could have found alone. More importantly, the different species were learning to trust each other in the crucible of shared danger. When a Xanthari warrior saved a human pilot's life, when a Selenite consciousness shared its deepest thoughts with a human engineer, when aliens and humans died together defending each other's ships, those moments built bonds stronger than any treaty. Elder Vorthak, watching humans and aliens work side by side in the Joint Command Center, felt something he hadn't experienced in millions of years: hope for the future. "Perhaps," he said to Admiral Hana, "we judged your species too quickly." "Perhaps we all did," she replied, watching human and alien crews prepare for what might be their final battle. The Helios Nebula had been beautiful once. Swirling clouds of gas and newborn stars had painted space in brilliant colors. Now it was a battlefield, and the beauty was being consumed by something far worse than war. The Devourers had arrived in force, Admiral. Corvin of the Xanthari fleet watched in horror as his energy, weapons passed harmlessly through the enemy. The Devourers looked like living shadows mixed with hungry starlight, but they were so much more terrible than that. They existed partially outside normal space, which made them nearly impossible to hit with conventional weapons. All ships, focus fire on the largest target. Corvin commanded. Hundreds of alien vessels opened fire at once. Energy beams that could destroy planets struck the massive Devourer, but instead of damaging it, the creature seemed to grow larger and hungrier. It was feeding on the energy attacks. "Sir, it's absorbing our weapons," his tactical officer reported. Before Corvin could respond, the Devourer reached out with tendrils of dark force. Where they touched Zenthari ships, the vessels simply stopped existing, not destroyed, erased as if they had never been built at all. Across the battlefield, the same scene played out over and over. The Nixari's most advanced energy shields meant nothing to enemies that could eat the energy itself. The Selenites' psionic attacks bounced off minds that existed in dimensions beyond normal thought. In just 3 hours, 70% of the greatest fleet ever assembled was gone. Elder Vorthak, commanding from the flagship Crystal of Ages, sent out the retreat signal. It was the hardest decision of his very long life, but staying would only mean more death. "All ships fall back to the secondary line," he ordered. "Send distress calls to every world in the galaxy. Tell them we have failed." General Wan received the distress call while humanity's fleet waited at the edge of the battle zone. The Galactic Council had forbidden human ships from joining the main fight, claiming their primitive weapons would only get in the way. One was a soldier who had fought in Earth's last great war. He knew the sound of defeat when he heard it, and the alien messages were full of it. "Sir, we have orders to stay back," his communications officer reminded him. "Orders from people who are dying while we watch," one replied. "All ships move to rescue positions. We're going to save as many as we can." The human fleet raced toward the battle zone as alien ships fled past them. Commander Biom, leading the destroyer Soul's Pride, found himself face to face with a Devourer for the first time. The creature was massive, easily the size of a small moon. It moved through space like oil flowing through water, and reality seemed to bend around it. But Biom noticed something the alien commanders had missed. "Fire kinetic rounds," he ordered. "Full spread." His weapons officer looked confused. "Sir, kinetic rounds against something that size?" "Just do it." The Soul's Pride fired its railguns, sending solid metal projectiles at incredible speed toward the Devourer. To everyone's surprise, the creature reacted violently. Where the metal slugs hit, pieces of the shadow thing seemed to break away and dissolve. "It worked," Biom shouted. "Physical weapons hurt them." "Send this information to all human ships immediately." Dr. Insu, working frantically aboard the research station Jeju, received Biom's battle report with excitement. Finally, a piece of the puzzle clicked into place. "Of course," he said to his research team. "The Devourers evolved in a dimension where everything is energy. They have natural defenses against energy attacks because that's all they've ever fought. But solid matter, real physical objects, those are completely alien to them." He sent his analysis to every human ship in the fleet. Use kinetic weapons only. Bullets, missiles, railgun slugs, anything physical. Energy weapons just make them stronger. As word spread through the human fleet, tactics changed completely. Ships that had been built for exploration suddenly became the most effective weapons in the galaxy. Captain So-Jin, still aboard the Busan, coordinated the rescue of alien survivors while human destroyers provided cover. Her ship pulled hundreds of alien crew members from disabled vessels, while the Soul's Pride and her sister ships kept the Devourers busy with continuous kinetic bombardment. "This is impossible," gasped Elder. Miran, as So-Jin's crew, helped her aboard the Yai, Busan. "Your species uses such simple weapons, yet they work where ours failed." "Sometimes simple is better," So-Jin replied, watching human ships drive off creatures that had seemed unstoppable. "We learned a long time ago that you don't need fancy weapons to win a fight. You just need the right ones." But even as humanity's kinetic weapons proved effective, the situation remained desperate. The Devourers were learning. After losing several scouts to human fire, they began to adapt. The shadow creatures started taking on more solid forms, developing physical armor that could resist bullets and missiles. Dr. Q, analyzing the battle data from his research station, made a disturbing discovery. "They're evolving in real time," he reported to Earth Command. "Each time we hurt one, the others learn how to defend against that attack." Admiral Hana, coordinating humanity's response from Luna Base, realized they were in an arms race against enemies that could adapt faster than humans, could develop new weapons. "How many nuclear warheads do we have in the fleet?" she asked her aide. 47, Admiral, but using nuclear weapons in space might be our only chance, Hana finished. "Send orders to all ships. Prepare for nuclear strikes against Devourer concentration points." On Nexus Prime, the emergency council session had devolved into chaos. Some members blamed humanity for waking the Devourers. Others argued that humans were their only hope now that conventional weapons had proven useless. Elder Vorthak stood in the center of the argument, his crystal form flickering between colors as he tried to process everything that had happened. "Enough," he finally shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber with power that made everyone stop talking. "We can argue about blame later. Right now we need to decide. Do we work with the humans or do we all die separately?" General Corvin, his pride wounded by his fleet's defeat, spoke for many when he said, "How can we trust primitives who accidentally started this war?" "Because those same primitives are the only ones who have managed to hurt the Devourers," Vorthak replied. "Our energy weapons are useless. Their kinetic weapons work. That is the reality we must face." Counselor Nexus supported Vorthak. "I have reviewed the human battle reports. Their tactics are crude but effective, perhaps. Perhaps there is wisdom in simplicity." But not everyone agreed. Several council members still wanted to destroy humanity rather than work with them. They argued that even if humans could fight the Devourers, their continued use of FTL travel would only make the problem worse. While the aliens debated, the Devourers continued to spread across the galaxy. More tiers in reality opened every day, and larger creatures began emerging from the void between dimensions. Commander Hyun, now promoted to Admiral of the Joint Defense Force, stood on the bridge of the New Sol as his ship raced toward the newest Devourer emergence point. His crew, Mira, Tay, and Yuna, had become experts at fighting enemies that shouldn't exist. 3 large contacts emerging from the quantum tear, Mira reported. "They're bigger than anything we've seen before." Hyun studied the sensor readings and felt a chill. These new Devourers were the size of asteroids, and they moved with purpose rather than the random hunger of the scouts. "They're learning to coordinate," Tay observed. "The individual creatures are working together now." "Then we'll have to get smarter too," Jan replied. "Signal the fleet. It's time to show these things what humans do when we're cornered." As the human fleet prepared for battle against increasingly intelligent enemies, a message arrived from Elder Vorthak. The Galactic Council had finally made their decision. "They want to meet with us," Yuna translated. "They're ready to discuss a formal alliance." Jan smiled grimly. It had taken the near destruction of their fleets, but the aliens were finally ready to admit they needed help. "Send our response," he ordered. "Tell them we'll work together. But make it clear, we're not stopping our FTL travel and we're not abandoning our expansion into space. If they want our help, they get all of us, not just the parts they like." The real war was just beginning. 3 months had passed since Commander Hyun's team found the dying Selenite. During that time, everything had changed for humanity. First contact was no longer a dream. It was daily reality, Ambassador. June walked through the halls of the new Earth Embassy on Zenthari Prime. The building was a strange mix of human steel and alien crystal, designed to make both species feel comfortable. June had worked day and night to build trust between humans and the various alien races they had met. The Zentharis were proud warriors who respected strength. They liked humans because humans were willing to fight for what they believed in. The Nixari were master builders who loved technology. They were fascinated by how humans solved problems in ways no one else had thought of. But despite these new friendships, June could feel tension in the air. Not all aliens welcomed humanity to the galaxy. Back on Earth, Admiral Hana stood in the command center of Luna Base, watching dozens of new human ships being built. Earth's governments had agreed on one thing. They needed a strong space fleet, and they needed it fast. "How many ships will be ready next month?" she asked her aide. 47, Admiral, all equipped with our latest FTL drives." Hana nodded, but she felt worried. The message from the dying Selenite haunted Earth's leaders. Something called Devourers was sleeping out there, and human FTL travel might wake them up. But they couldn't just stop exploring space because of an ancient threat that might not even be real. On the research station New Busan, Dr. Q had spent every waking hour studying the alien ship Hyun's team had found. The vessel was full of secrets, and Q was determined to unlock them all. The data cores are incredibly advanced, he told his team during their daily meeting, but I've managed to translate some of the warning messages. He activated a holographic display that showed star maps covered in red zones. According to this, the Devourers attacked our galaxy 3 times in the past. Each time they consumed hundreds of star systems before going back to sleep. Dr. Q's assistant, a young woman named Dr. Ray, studied the data carefully. What made them go to sleep? That's the strange part, Q said. The records suggest they don't actually sleep by choice. Something forces them back into the void between realities, but the records don't say what. And we might be waking them up again? Q's face was grim. According to this, yes. Our FTL drives create quantum ripples that apparently sound like a dinner bell to them. While scientists studied ancient warnings, Captain So Jin was experiencing something much more immediate. Her research ship Busan was stationed at the edge of known space, monitoring for unusual activity. Captain, her sensor officer called out, I'm getting some very strange readings from the void sector. So Jin moved to look at the displays. The void sector was an area of space where nothing existed. No stars, no planets, not even space dust. It was completely empty, which made it perfect for detecting anything unusual. What kind of readings? Energy signatures that don't match anything in our databases. And Captain, they're big, really big. So Jin felt a chill run down her spine. How big? If these readings are correct, whatever is out there is larger than our moon. Before So Jin could respond, space itself began to change in front of them. Reality seemed to bend and twist like someone was tearing a hole in the universe itself. Through the tear, they could see something moving in a darkness that was deeper than space. All stations, battle alert. So Jin shouted, send an emergency message to Earth Command. Tell them we found something in the void sector and it's not friendly. The thing that emerged from the tear was horrible to look at. It was like living shadow mixed with hungry light. It moved in ways that hurt to watch, as if it existed in more dimensions than human eyes could understand. As the Busan watched in terror, the creature reached out with tendrils of dark energy and touched a nearby asteroid. The rock didn't just break apart, it stopped existing, as if it had never been there at all. Captain, it's heading toward the inner systems, the sensor officer reported, his voice shaking. Get us out of here, So Jin ordered. Maximum speed. As the Busan raced away from the void sector, So Jin sent detailed reports to both Earth and the Galactic Council. Her message was simple but terrifying. The Devourers were waking up. On Nexus Prime, Elder Vorthak received Sojin's report with a heavy heart. He had hoped the ancient warnings were just myths, stories told to frighten young races, but the evidence was clear. The first Devourer scout had emerged from its long sleep. Assemble the council immediately, he told his assistants, and send messages to all member worlds. The time of preparation is over. When the Galactic Council met in emergency session, the mood was dark. Representatives from 12 worlds gathered to discuss a threat that could end all life in their galaxy. The human report confirms our worst fears, Vorthak announced. A Devourer scout has awakened. More will follow soon. General Corvin slammed his 6 fists on the table. Then we must act now. We demand that the humans stop all FTL travel immediately. And if they refuse? Asked Elder Mirren. Then we stop them ourselves, Corvin replied. By force if necessary. But Counselor Nexus disagreed. The humans are not our enemies. They didn't know about the Devourers when they developed their FTL drives. That doesn't matter, Corvin shot back. Their ignorance could doom us all. Elder Vorthak listened to the arguments with growing concern. The council was dividing into 2 groups. Those who wanted to destroy humanity to save the galaxy, and those who thought they should work together to find another solution. I propose we give the humans one chance, Vorthak said finally. We tell them about the threat and demand they stop their FTL travel. If they agree, we work together to prepare defenses. If they refuse, we treat them as enemies, General Corvin finished. The vote was close, but Vorthak's proposal won. A message was sent to Earth's government, demanding an immediate meeting. When Ambassador June received the Council's message, he knew humanity faced its first real crisis as a spacefaring race. The aliens were demanding that humans give up their ability to travel between stars, the very thing that had brought them to the galaxy in the first place. They're asking us to trap ourselves in our own solar system, Admiral Hanna said during the emergency meeting on Earth. We can't agree to that. But if we refuse, they might declare war on us, June replied. We're not ready to fight 12 advanced civilizations. As Earth's leaders debated their response, more reports came in from the edge of space. Captain Sojin's ship had detected 3 more tiers in reality. The Devourers were not just awakening. They were awakening in multiple locations at once. Dr. Q made another disturbing discovery while studying the alien data cores. The patterns match, he announced to his team. The quantum signatures from our FTL drives are exactly the same as those made by the last race that woke the Devourers. What happened to that race? Dr. Ray asked. Q's face was pale as he read the ancient records. The Galactic Council destroyed them completely. Every ship, every planet, every trace of their civilization. They thought it was the only way to make the Devourers go back to sleep. The implications were clear. If humanity refused to stop using FTL travel, the aliens might try to wipe them out just like they had done to that ancient race. But there was something else in the records, something that gave Dr. Q hope. The previous race had used energy-based FTL technology, just like most current alien civilizations. Humans used something different. They used controlled explosions and quantum manipulation that created different kinds of space-time distortions. Maybe, just maybe, that difference would matter when the real fighting began. The crystal halls of Nexus Prime had seen many meetings over the millions of years. Today, 12 different alien races sat around the Great Table, their forms strange and wonderful. Some looked like living rocks, others like floating lights, and a few resembled giant insects with shining wings. Elder Vorthak stood at the center. His body was made of living crystal that changed colors as he spoke. He was old, very old. He had watched stars being born and dying for longer than most races had existed. Today, his crystal form glowed red with worry. The humans have learned to travel faster than light, Vorthak said. His voice echoed through the chamber like wind through caves. They have left their homeworld. They are coming to the stars. Around the table, other council members made sounds of amusement. Some laughed, others clicked their strange mouths, and a few flashed lights in patterns that meant they thought this was funny. Humans, said Counselor Nexus, whose body was made of pure energy. Those little creatures who still use metal ships? They barely know how to leave their own sun's area. They fight with explosives and bullets, added Xanthari General Corvin, his 6 arms moving as he spoke. We have moved beyond such crude things millions of years ago. But Vorthak's crystal body pulsed brighter red. I have seen this before. Young races always seem harmless at first. They appear simple and weak. But sometimes... He paused, his ancient memory reaching back through time. Sometimes they surprise us all. The other council members stopped laughing. They knew Vorthak's history. He was the only one who remembered the Destroyer Wars when another simple race had nearly ended all life in their galaxy. What do you suggest? Asked Elder Myron, whose plant-like form swayed gently. We watch them carefully, Vorthak said. We learn about them. We understand what makes them different. Because mark my words, there is something different about humans. Far away from Nexus Prime, Commander Hyan stood on the bridge of the starship New Sol. The ship was humanity's first real attempt at deep space travel. It was built from Earth's best steel and technology, though it looked simple compared to alien ships. Hyan was a calm man with steady hands and sharp eyes. He had been chosen to lead this mission because he never panicked, even when things went wrong. Next to him stood his crew, Navigator Mira, who could find paths through space like others found roads. Engineer Tay, who understood machines better than most people understood themselves, and Communications Officer Yuna, who had learned 6 alien languages in preparation for this trip. Sir, Mira said, looking at her screens, we're picking up something strange. There's a ship out there, but it's not moving. Hyan nodded. Show me. On the main screen, they saw a vessel unlike anything humans had ever built. It was long and curved, made from materials that seemed to bend light around them. But something was wrong. The ship drifted in space, dark and silent. No life signs, Yuna reported, but there's still some power inside. Could be a trap, Tay said, but his voice showed he was curious too. Hyan thought for a moment. This was why they had come to space, to learn and explore. We go aboard, he decided. But carefully. An hour later, Hyan and his team floated through the alien ship's halls. Their lights cut through the darkness, showing walls covered in symbols no human had ever seen. The air was thin but breathable, though it smelled like flowers and electricity. They found the alien in what looked like the command center. It was dying. The creature was tall and thin, with skin that seemed to be made of light itself. Its large eyes focused on Hyan with what looked like relief. You are the new ones," it whispered in words that somehow appeared in their minds rather than their ears. "The young race. From the small blue world. Who are you?" Hyun asked gently. Was Caliph of the Selenite Order. I have traveled far to warn someone, anyone who would listen." The alien's light grew dimmer as it spoke. "Warn us about what?" Caliph's form flickered like a candle in the wind. "The Devourers. They sleep in the space between realities, but certain sounds, certain vibrations, wake them. Your ship's human, they sing the old songs. The songs that call the hungry ones." "I don't understand," Hyun said. "You're faster than light travel. It tears small holes in space. The holes make music. The Devourers hear this music and remember they are hungry." Caliph's voice was getting weaker. "Long ago, another race made the same music. We had to destroy them to save the galaxy. The Elders, they remember. They fear you will wake the sleepers again. What are these Devourers?" But Caliph was fading fast. "They eat everything. Matter, energy, even the forces that hold atoms together. When they wake fully, they consume entire star systems. And once they start eating..." The alien's form began to dissolve into sparkles of light. "Once they start, they never stop until everything is gone. How do we stop them?" Hyun asked urgently. Caliph's last words came as barely a whisper. "The Elders know. Ask them. But they will not trust you. They fear your kind too much. They fear what you might become." Then the alien was gone, leaving only fading sparkles of light in the dark command center. Hyun and his team returned to the New Soul in silence. As they traveled back toward Earth, they sent messages to their government about what they had learned. But they also knew their reports would be hard to believe. Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, Elder Vorthak felt a disturbance in the cosmic forces he had learned to read over his long life. Something was stirring in the deep spaces between galaxies. Something that had been sleeping for millions of years was beginning to wake up. He called an emergency meeting of the Council. "The humans have made contact with a Selenite messenger," he announced. "The old warnings have been given. The sleeping ones stir." This time no one laughed. "What do we do?" asked Counselor Nexus. Vorthak's crystal form turned deep purple. The color of fear and determination mixed together. "We prepare for war. Either against the humans to stop them from waking the Devourers completely, or alongside them if the sleepers wake anyway." "You think the humans might help us fight?" General Corvin asked. "I think," Vorthak said slowly, "that we are about to learn what makes humans truly different from every other race we have encountered, and I pray to the ancient stars that whatever it is, it will be enough." In the darkness between galaxies, something vast and hungry stirred for the first time in millions of years. It had heard a familiar song, a vibration pattern that meant one thing: time to feed.